Hello everyone, my name is Chris Hickson. I'm a student teacher for the middle school math classroom at Miles ELC, and this is a study guide for the 5th period math class. 5th period has an exam coming up on Friday, February the 3rd. So this is the study guide for that exam. The students should be getting this on Wednesday. I'm going to go through each of the answers for most of them and explain them. So number one says to answer the following questions based off the expression below. So I'm going to write our expression out. We've got 4x minus 34p plus 12m minus 29. So remember what a term means, or recall what a term means. The term is a part of the expression that's separated by an addition or subtraction symbol. So I'll go ahead and separate each of my terms here using different colors. So here's my first term, and my second term, and my third term, and my fourth term. So as you can see, I've got 4 different terms, and I'll just write them with their corresponding color. My first term is 4x, my second term is negative 34p, my third term is a positive 12m, and my fourth term is a negative 29. So A says how many terms are there? We've already decided that we've got 4 terms. Alright, let's do B. Forgive me while I fumble around with the eraser. It's kind of weird if I start erasing and then I touch the screen at any point while I'm still erasing, it'll put everything back. Anyway, B says, what is the value of the 4th term? Well, we have our terms separated out into first, second, third, and fourth. So the 4th term is the negative 29. So our answer is just negative 29. That would be our 4th term. And I just found that by counting from left to right, the first, second, third, and finally 4th term. Letter C says, what is the constant? Well, remember that a constant is a number that is not associated or connected to a variable or a letter. So notice in our first term we've got 4x. That 4 is the coefficient of x. It's attached to that x. The same for our second term. We've got negative 34, but it's the coefficient of the p, or connected to the p. 12 is the coefficient of the m. So those 3 numbers are not our constant, because the variable affects those numbers and they can change, they can vary. However, in our 4th term, negative 29, it doesn't have a variable. That means that negative 29 is not a value that will vary. It's the same number always. It's always going to be negative 29. So we know that negative 29 is our constant. That's it. D says, what is the variable of the second term? So remember, we have already set up our terms. We've separated them out, so we just have to find the second term, which is negative 34p. I think we kind of already talked about this one, but this is the second term, but it's asking us to find the variable of the second term. Well, remember, a variable is something that doesn't, or something that can vary. It's not a consistent thing. So in this case, the p is the variable in our second term. Sorry, my cat's kind of distracting me. She's hiding below me, kind of jumping around. And you can see my dog here in the back. He was sleeping, but now he's kind of tossing about. But anyway, so the next question, E, asks us what the variables are. And again, those are just the letters, so we can go through and write down all the letters as we go past each term. So our variables are, from left to right, x, because we've got 4x, x is that variable. In our second term, p is the variable. And in our third term, m is the variable. And our fourth term, negative 29, doesn't have an associated variable. So that's all the variables we have, x, p, and m. F says, what is the coefficient of the first term? So our first term is 4x. And recall what a coefficient is. Excuse me. So remember that a coefficient is the number in front of the variable, the number associated with a variable. So in this case, we've got 4x. The coefficient of our term 4x is 4. So the answer to F is 4. 4 is the coefficient of the first term. Okay. G says, what is the coefficient of the variable p? So let's find the term in which p is, and that would be negative 34p. So now our coefficient of this term is that negative 34. And that's it. That's our coefficient for the term negative 34p. And G. What is the coefficient for the variable p? I think I repeated this answer. Right, here's where I caught myself. We've already answered this one, but I'll go through it one more time. So our term that has the p is negative 34p, and the coefficient of that term is negative 34. It's the number in front of, or the number associated with the variable. In this case, negative 34, and that's it. So let's move on to number 2. Number 2 says, what is the difference between a numerical expression and an algebraic expression? Include an example for each in your explanation. That should say contains with an S. I did not catch that. My apologies. A numerical expression contains only numbers, and my example is 3 plus 4. So there aren't any variables, there aren't any letters involved in a numerical expression. There are only numbers. Again, our example is 3 plus 4. Not sure if you guys heard my dog yawn in the background, but he's feeling a little sleepy. So, next up is our algebraic Expressions. Algebraic expressions contain both letters. Oh, I'm going to catch myself here. I shouldn't be using the word letters. Letters does explain what we're talking about, but mathematically speaking, we're talking about variables, so we should write variables instead of letters. I won't take off points for that, but it is important to note that we are talking about variables and not letters. So in algebraic expressions contain both variables and numbers. And our example is x plus 3. Alright, let's jump to number 3. So for 3 to 5, it says to use the distributive property. So let's think back to what the distributive property means. If I have A times the sum of B plus C, this can be expanded and rewritten. We can take that A and multiply it out to both the B and the C. And my doorbell rang. I think that was the wind though. But what you'll have is A times B and you'll add that to the product of A and C. So what you'll have is AB plus AC. And that is our distributive property. We've taken the A and we've multiplied it out to both the B and the C. So that's the rule we're going to use and we're going to apply for numbers 3 through 5. So let's look at number 3. 8 times the sum of x plus 5. So the first thing we'll have is 8 times x, and then we'll add that to 8 times 5. 8 times x is 8x. And we'll add that to the sum of 8 and 5, which is 40. So our answer is 8x plus 40. And that's it for number 3. Alright, let's jump on to number 4. 3 times the sum of x. Oops, sorry, it's not the sum. 3 times the difference of x and 2. Once again, we'll distribute the 3 to the x, and we will add that to the product of 3 and negative 2. Now you'll have to bear with me a second while I catch myself. It should be 3 times negative 2, not 3 times 2. So just hang tight, and I will eventually catch myself and go back. There we go. This is the point in which I caught myself, so let's erase all this and let's do it again. So, let me rewrite it. 3 times the difference of x and 2. It's always important to check your work, students. We will distribute the 3 to the x, and then we will distribute the 3 to the negative 2, and we will add those two products. So we'll have 3 times x and 3 times negative 2. 3 times x is equal to 3x, and we will add that to the product of 3 and negative 2. And 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And remember that adding a negative number is the same as subtraction. So this can be rewritten as 3x minus 6. Alright, let's move on to number 5. 10 times the sum of 4x and 3. First we'll distribute our 10 to the 4x, and we'll have 10 times 4x. And we will add that to the product of 10 and 3 as we distribute our 10 to our 3. 10 times 4x is 40x. And we will add that to the product of 10 and 3. And 10 times 3 is 30. So our answer is 40x plus 30. Alright. Number 6, well, let's read the directions. For questions 6 through 9, simplify the expression. So let's start with number 6. For number 6, we've got 12g plus 5d plus 3g plus 2d. So you'll notice we've got some d's and we've got some g's kind of spread out. So first things first, let's kind of identify our g's and our d's and group them together so that we can combine the like terms. So I'll go ahead and highlight the ones that are the same. So this is a g and this is a g. And this is a D, and this is a D. Okay, so let's rewrite this so our terms are together. That way they can be added. So we've got 12g plus 3g. And now let's look at our d's. So we're going to add it to 5, or ooh, it should say 5d. I think this one is done wrong. 12g plus 3g is 15g. And 3d plus 2d is 5d. And that's it. Really, it should be 5d plus 2d, which would give you 7d. But the point is, had I done my addition right, we would have simplified this expression. Number 7. 80r minus 10r plus 18. So 18 doesn't have a variable, it doesn't have any other like terms, but there are two terms that have r, so we can combine those. So we've got 80r minus 10r plus 18. So here I'm fumbling with my sign language. I keep saying 80x instead of 80r. And there I did it again. So anyway, 80r minus 10r. Well, 80 minus 10 is 70, so we are left with 70r. Bring down our plus 18. And that is it. 70r plus 18. Alright, number 8. $45z plus 20j plus 10z, or minus 10z, excuse me, plus 5. So we've got one term with j and two terms with z's and one constant. So let's combine the z's since we've got some like terms there. We've got 45z and negative 10z. Notice that I've got the negative attached to this 10z. The coefficient for this term is actually negative 10 and not 10. That negative is not associated with the j, it's in fact associated with the z. So we'll bring everything down. (45z minus 10z) is 35z. We'll bring down our 20j and our positive 5. We can no longer combine any of those terms, and that's our answer. Alright, number 9, and number 9 is kind of a long one. So we've got all kinds of different variables here, so let's kind of find the ones that are common. So let's go through and find the n's first. Alright, so now let's go through and find all the k's. We've got 12k and 2k, 2n is not a k, 10k and 4k. Alright, so now let's rewrite this so our terms are next to each other. Our like terms are next to each other. 4n plus, or 34n plus 2n, and then 12k plus 2k plus 10k plus 4k. Alright, now let's start combining some of these like terms. Actually, let me change this color. I don't like the yellow, so I'm going to use it red. Yellow's kind of hard to see. So plus 12k plus 2k plus 10k and plus 4k. Now we can begin to combine like terms. 34n plus 2n is 36n, and we're going to add that to the combination of our k's. So 12k plus 2k is 14k. And over here, 10k and 4k added together gives us another 14k. I'll combine both of my 14k's together, and that should give me 28k. So my answer will be 36n plus 28k. If I can get my pen to work, there we go. And that's my answer. So notice we have that huge expression, and we're able to bring it down to two terms, 36n plus 28k. Alright, let's move on. Our first page is done. For questions 10 through 13, please fill out the blank with any number of ways to write the expression in words according to the chart we had in class. Translate the expression. So, if you look back in your notes, it actually was in there on more than one occasion. You'll have a chart that has 4 columns: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So I'm not going to go ahead and write out all of these. This should be in your notes multiple times if you have them. If not, you can always pick up the old notes that you don't have. But those are the kinds of things that you'll just need to memorize the translations for and be prepared to write them down in your test. 14 through 17 is asking us to take the English sentences and rewrite them into math expressions. So the first one says the difference of t and 23. Well, recall that difference means subtraction, so we can write this as t minus 23. But notice that I use the capital T. Lowercase t is not acceptable. it specifically says that it is capital T and 23. Number 15 says the product of 3 and 7. Remember that product means multiplication, so this is the multiplication of 3 and 7. And that's that. 16 says the quotient of D and K. Well, recall that quotient means division, so it can be written one of two ways. Here's one of the ways. The second way is right here. So you can write either one of these answers for the quotient of D and K. Both are acceptable. Number 17 says 78 more than R. Now this is kind of tricky because it's not as simple as writing 78 plus R. That would be wrong. That would be incorrect. This is saying 78 more than R. So we're starting with R and we are adding 78 to it. We are 78 more than that. So in this case we'll have R plus 78. And that is our answer for 17. Alright, let's move on. Next page, for numbers 18 through 25, simplify the expression using the order of operations. Remember that we've been talking about PEMDAS, PEMDAS? So this is what we're going to use in order to solve these expressions. So I'm going to write it down for each one of these because it helps me keep track of what's going on. So number 18 says 4 times 4 squared minus 4. So we can go ahead and cross off the p because there are no parentheses. Moving down, there are in fact exponents. We have 4 squared. 4 squared is equal to 4 times 4, or 16. We have no more exponents, so we can cross that off. The next step is multiplication and division. Remember that for multiplication and division, the same as addition and subtraction, you have to scan your expression from left to right. So, as we look at it from left to right, we can catch the first piece of multiplication or division, which is 4 times 16. I don't know 4 times 16 off the top of my head, but I can go ahead and figure it out by writing it out. 4 times 16 is 64. So again, I'll scan from left to right, and it seems I've got no more multiplication or division, so I can cross that off. Now we'll move on to addition and subtraction. Again, this is the same kind of thing. I'm going to scan from left to right for any addition or subtraction that I come across. So the first piece of addition or subtraction I come across is 64 minus 4, also the only piece of addition or subtraction left in this problem. 64 minus 4 is 60, and that is our answer. Alrighty, so number 19. Again, I'm going to write PEMDAS because I really depend on it, and I think you should too. I think that during the test you should definitely try to write this down for each problem. So we start out by looking for parentheses. In this case, we do have parentheses. So let's tackle our parentheses. We can simplify our parenthesis. In this case, 4 minus 1. is 3. Bring our parentheses back down. Bring everything else down. So we still have a parentheses, but there aren't other operations going on inside of the parentheses anymore. Before we had an operation happening inside the parentheses. We've tackled that operation, and now there are no more operations in the parentheses, so we can get rid of the parentheses because we've already taken care of them. Next, for exponents, there are no exponents, so we can cross that out. Now remember, multiplication and division must be tackled from left to right. So scanning this problem, I see that 2 times 3 is the first piece of multiplication or division I come across. 2 times 3 is in fact 6. And I'll bring down everything else. Now I can't just cross off multiplication and division. I have to again scan for any more multiplication or division from left to right. So going from left to right, I notice that 6 times 5 is the first piece of multiplication or division that I come across now. And 6 times 5 is equal to 30. And that's it. I've got an answer. Alright, number 20. 2 squared plus 1 times the quantity 4 times 2 times 3 minus 20. In parentheses, subtract 8. So again, I'm going to write down my PEMDAS, my order of operations. I depend on that. I think that you should get in the habit of writing it down as well. And let's begin. It says to start with parentheses, and we do have a lot going on in our parentheses. Excuse me. Here are our parentheses. So the idea is to simplify the parentheses. And this particular set of parentheses has a lot of different terms going on inside of it. But don't let this scare you off. We can take this one step at a time. So when we're going through our parentheses, when we take a look at inside the parentheses, we just follow the order of operations like we always do. So there are no parentheses within our parentheses, so we don't have to worry about that. There are no exponents within our parentheses, but there is multiplication and division within our parentheses, so that's what we'll tackle first. The first piece of multiplication is 4 times 2, so we'll do that, which is 8. We'll bring down everything else. Notice we still have these parentheses with more multiplication in there, so again we're going to scan from left to right within the parentheses. Excuse me for a second. Again, so we're going to scan within the parentheses from left to right, searching for any more multiplication, because there are no parentheses within our parentheses. There are no exponents within our parentheses. So, scanning from left to right, you'll see that we have to do 8 times 3. 8 times 3 is 24. Let's bring down everything else. We're still working out our parentheses, excuse me. So now with our parentheses, there are no parentheses in our parentheses. There are no exponents within our parentheses. There is no more multiplication in our parentheses, but we still have addition and subtraction within our parentheses. And the addition or subtraction left within our parentheses is 24 minus 20, so we'll go ahead and do 24 minus 20, which will leave us with 4. We will bring everything else down. Notice that all of the different terms, all of the different operations in our parentheses have been reduced and taken care of. So we are done working through our parentheses. Now we can check that off. Alright, let's look at exponents. We do have some exponents. We've got 2 squared. And 2 squared is equal to 2 times 2, which is 4. Bring everything else down. So we've taken care of parentheses. We no longer have any exponents, so we can cross that off. Scanning from left to right, looking for multiplication and division. We have none, so we can cross that off too. And some of you might have said, whoa, wait, whoa, we have a parenthesis there. Isn't that multiplication? Now, it's true. If there's a number outside of that parenthesis, you do have to multiply it. In this case, that number is 1, so we don't really have multiplication there in this case. So we could get rid of the parentheses, but we don't have to. So we're going to go ahead and cross out multiplication and division because there's none left. We do have addition and subtraction here, so we have to go from left to right. And the first piece of addition or subtraction is 4 plus 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. Bring everything else down. And again, we're going to go from left to right, looking for addition and subtraction. The first and only piece of addition or subtraction left that we come across is 8 minus 8, which is 0. So our answer to this is 0. Alright, let's move on. Number 22, or 21, excuse me. 1 to the 15th power plus 6 divided by 3. Once again, I'll write out PEMDAS. So we don't have any parentheses, so we can go ahead and cross that out. Exponents we do have, we've got 1 to the 15th power. But remember, 1 to the 15th power is the same as 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, 15 times. But no matter how many times we multiply 1, we're just going to get 1. So 1 to the 15th power is just 1. And we'll bring down everything else. That is the rest of the exponents there, so we can go ahead and cross out the E. Multiplication and division we'll tackle from left to right. So as we scan our expression, the first piece of multiplication or division we have is 6 divided by 3. And 6 divided by 3 is 2. We'll bring down everything else. After a quick scan, we are done with multiplication and division. So we'll move on to addition and subtraction. Again, addition and subtraction, we scan from left to right. We've got 1 plus 2, which is equal to 3. 3 is our answer. And that's it for number 21. Alright, let's check out 22. (16 minus 2 times 3 times the quantity, or the quotient of 4 and 2, excuse me. Once again, notice I'm writing down my acronym PEMDAS because I rely on it. So, the first thing we need to tackle is our parentheses. When we have parentheses, in our parentheses we've got 4 divided by 2. Four divided by 2 is easy enough. 4 divided by 2 is 2. We'll bring down our parentheses. Notice that our parentheses now is simplified to one term. We have successfully reduced our parentheses. There are no other operations going on inside of those parentheses. So we're done with parentheses. We can cross those off. We don't have any exponents, so we'll cross that off as well. Now, looking from left to right for multiplication and division, the first one we come across is 2 times 3, which is going to be equal to 6. And then we'll bring everything else down. We'll continue to scan for multiplication and division, just to make sure we are done. And we're going again from left to right. We notice that we have 6 times 2, or 6 parentheses 2. 6 times 2 is 12. Bring down everything else. Doing a quick scan from left to right, we're done with multiplication and division. There is no more of that. And we'll move on to addition and subtraction. Again, addition and subtraction will go from left to right. Our only piece of addition and subtraction is 16 minus 12, which is 4, excuse me. So our answer is 4. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Number 23. Number 23 says 10 times 10 raised to the 0 power plus 4 minus 2. Once again, I'll write down PEMDAS because I like to depend on that. It's very important to me. We do have parentheses, so we'll tackle those first. The operation in the parentheses is 10 times 10, which is 100. We'll bring everything else down. We have no more operations within our parentheses, so we're done with that. The next step is our exponents. Remember that a 0 power is a special rule because anything raised to a 0 power is just 1. So 100 to the 0 power is in fact 1. We'll bring down everything else. We have eliminated our exponents, so we can go ahead and cross those out. A quick scan indicates that we don't have any multiplication or division, so we can go ahead and cross that out as well. Scanning from left to right for addition and subtraction. The first piece of addition or subtraction that we have is 1 plus 4, which is going to be 5. We'll bring down the minus 2. It is the final piece of addition and subtraction, so 5 minus 2 is 3. And that's my answer for number 23. Alright, let's move on to number 24. 24 says t to the first. Remember that an exponent tells us how many copies of the base we're going to have. And so our exponent is telling us that we're going to have 1 copy of the base, and the base is t. So this can be rewritten as t. That's it. Alright, 25. 4 to the 3rd power, or 4 cubed. Remember, the exponent tells us how many copies of the base we have. So we're going to have 3 copies, and our base is 4. So we're going to have 3 copies of 4. And remember, when we're dealing with exponents, it means we're going to be multiplying our copies of the base. 4 times 4 is 16. Bring down my other 4. 16 times 4, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I can write it down and figure it out. 6, 12, 18, 24, 2, 64, and that's my answer. 4 to the 3rd power is 64. And that's it, 5th period students. That's your study guide. And parents, good luck on your test. I hope you study well. Remember that, before the test, you can come in at lunch. Wednesday at lunch, you can come in and talk to me. Make sure you're feeling ready for the test. Thank you for watching my YouTube video. Any feedback is always welcome. You can give me the feedback in person, leave me a YouTube comment, shoot me an email, or shoot Addie an email. But anyway, thank you very much, and I'll see you guys later.